Emerging from the fear and the pandemic, the panic has created, and we find ourselves staring down the red hot barrel of a post pandemic world. And in the inflation, the material supply shortage, and the stubborn unemployment issues, and also the new situation has arisen in a couple of months that the semiconductor shortage, the semiconductor chip shortage globally that hampered the today's daily life, the electronics industry, the home appliances, the electronics gadget, all those situations are present everywhere, and we can face this that issues globally, and American economy is under the strain. But for many in those industries who were struggling long before I mean, the situation is arises in this pandemic situation and last 20 months, that issues are providing to be overwhelming and proving to be. Nowhere can this be seen more dramatically than the repossession industry, and for the lenders and this stretched industry in the thinner prospect that poses a new risk requiring even greater recovery management than it's before actually happened. And during the peak of the pandemic, the industry experienced a repossession moratoriums and the lockdowns, while those lenders offered some borrowers record number of loan deferment and the modification. This deferment and the modification with an inconsistent patchwork of the state and other local bodies in place, and many agencies were shut out the major markets where most of their recovery work came from an existing primary and voluntary representation, and the repossessions are impound for the initially estimated anywhere to 20 to 40% of the repossession industry that would be forced to close its door due to the pandemic, due to the adverse effect of this pandemic. And this is the scenario that the major economy are facing, that many industries shut down, many corporates, many sector has faced a tough challenges. It's a huge challenges they're facing in this pandemic situation. We have to raise our hand, our helping hand to mitigate those adverse effects, to mitigate those challenges, that they can survive, they can make those living with some ease with their daily life and their habitat that can be going forward. And we had extremely disappointment, facing those disappointment if we are having hear about this critical situation as in this pandemic time is created in this industry, and that nearly tough to keep those majority having to lay off those trained staff and cut many sections to stay afloat, and this pressure leads in some cases to lapse the insurance policies, and this was not always visible to lender or the other cases. Some agencies whose policy had not lapsed by the failure to pay those premiums choose to reduce the coverage levels, again often unnoticed. Low recovery volume coupled with stagnant recovery fees, absent those ancillary fees, income derived from the storage, delivery, and personal property fees only added to the misery of many agencies. The post-pandemic repossession industry is one that loaded with increased risk and the reduced network to choose from as a lender is possesses those options to consider the increased staff and man hours to better track, manage, negotiate this new landscape, change nothing and hope for the best, and work with the professional national repossession management companies. We manage one of our largest and most compliant repossession agencies network in the nation. Our agent compliance program manages all the insurance, licensing, and industry compliances, tracking for you, and that agents ensure that the recovery times and the ratio are among the best in this policy. All the while assuring that the recovery fees are fair, reasonable, and affordable. Everyone can afford this price for the insurance, and this industry is run by through the premium that given by those policy holders to get and benefited those health We can expect to see a boom in telecommuting as people master the tool like Slack and Zoom and otherwise get more comfortable with their home office setup. Personally, it's much prefer to be in office because all the stuff is there and it's my stuff where I put it. And what I have said at home, I can work here comfortably. I think a lot of people are going to discover this along with the concept that arises in this recent pandemic situation. Today's unpredictable environment that has an impact on the internal capacity. The finding shows that 95% of the surveyed talent acquisition that have a reduced internal recruiting capability with smaller recruiting force organization and these days during the pandemic situation and many situation has changed. The world has changed over the last 20 months. The many industry, many sectors, the health insurance, the health industry and the lifestyle the people are dealing with after this pandemic has changed. The smaller organization will have to shut down. They have to lay off most of the employees and to redesign their talent acquisition processes. Simply redeploying the existing resources is not enough. And the 45% of respondents perceive it's highly important to reimagine and completely adjust the talent acquisition processes in the light of pandemic and its after effect, identifying the opportunities to digitalize those processes. Applying for these changes remain a challenges in the talent management. And to optimize those IT environment for future resiliency, 60% of the respondents have a strong emphasis on increasing the automation over the next 1 year and to together have the human touch point and the benefit of those innovative technologies. Organization can improve the candidate and employees experiences that can process. It's always straightforward. It's imperative to reimagine how the work gets done and automating those single tasks. It does not create the same efficiency as creating and implementing those intelligent workflows. The intelligent way of work, we can say that's as a smart work that are implementing in this with the same efficiencies that have created. In such a turbulent market, the attracting and retaining the talent remain a pivotal for the success of your organization. As the well-being of the employees, over 50% of the survey talent acquisition leaders stated that they lack a balance in the digital and high-tech and high-touch candidate experiences. It is imperative to understand where the candidate experience is lacking as more steps in the process become a virtual, especially in the areas like virtual event management, the logistic management and onboarding. More robust onboarding and training experience are needed to help ensure a low attrition and memorable experiences. That is, it's identifying those gaps and ability to scale the talent acquisition staff to manage the variation in hiring volume. These changes don't just affect the talent acquisition team during the candidate sourcing and procurement. Talent acquisition organizations are using this contingent lever more often to support the recruitment searches and making greater use of the third-party services. It will take a significantly more flexible approach to the talent acquisitions, placing a much higher emphasis on the use of home workers, flexible workers. That's all for now. Thanks for your watching. See you in the next video. Thanks for your time.